What's going on YouTube? Dave back again, and by popular demand, I have had everybody in every video that I've ended up making recently asking me, when am I going to work on the Infinite Dimensions Alex? Well, here we are. This is going to be the first part of a few. The main reason for doing this is, well, one, you guys have been asking me for it, and two, after messing around and looking at everything, there's a lot of pieces that the instructions they don't show you and they don't do a very good job of. So this one's going to be for the arms, and then the next section is going to be the shoulders, and then so on and so forth. So let's get into it. Now, if you remember, this actually uses the ARC-78 Origins kit as the base. Not very much actually gets used for that from my checking out the build on here. So if you can pick up one that is not severely damaged, anything like that, maybe on eBay or some discount site or used, I would probably do that and then just tear it down and use the pieces that you end up needing. Otherwise, I will put a link down below for where I ended up getting mine. You can get them fairly cheap, like 30 bucks or so. I will leave that up to you, whether you want to start from a scratch kit and use the pieces that you want and need, or if you just want to salvage one that you have on the shelf or one that you end up seeing on one of the sales sites on, say, Facebook or eBay or something like that. But you can see the two different shots here. Now, you don't have an option, or at least I don't think you have an option to be able to make these with closed, but then again, why would you? Because one of the Alex's main features are the Gatling guns that pop out on the arms. You can see on here the pop-up and the guns both down. I think they look really good. The detail on the Infinite Dimensions is nice, clean, crisp, but like I said, the instructions are severely lacking, so let's get into it. All right, so here are the parts layout, and I think when I did the unboxing, I went through all this. Here is the listing of the parts that are actually going to be needed from the ARC-78 Origins. So you're going to need B17, B18, I-32, I-35, and PC-4. That's going to be 2 of each. And here's the thing, and I'm just going to say this straight out, the instructions for these can be quite frustrating if you don't have experience, or even if you do have experience, it's kind of like a puzzle that you have to figure out exactly what they meant. Now, normally if you end up looking, like, you can see this is all nice and crisp. You can see this is all nice and crisp, but you can see like these pieces right here or right here are kind of, they look like they're made out of clay, just done by finger. And so when you look at these instructions, these are the pieces that are going to be original, but they don't show you how to end up using that. On here, you can see this, of course, is going to be your original piece, but all these others get added on. All right, so I turned down the ISO on the camera to be able to get you a nice view. Yes, there is some dust still in these vents are on here, but this is what it's going to look like all built up. It uses the ARC-78 Origins hand on here. It does put a new back plate on there. It uses the shoulder joint. You can see a free moves on there. You do get some good movement. You do have to be careful because it is going to be a little tight. You got these spots on here, but you can manipulate that around. Just be cautious, especially after you end up painting it. But the pistons all end up working on there. Nice detail. And there is one little area, and I think I need to, I'm not sure what part is catching. I think it's this part right here that is catching on that lip, and I may just need to sand the backside down on that. But it looks great, doesn't it? And here are all the parts that make up the arm. So we have the shoulder piece. We're just going to set that up there. That's already built. Just follow the regular Bandai instructions. You'll be good on that. Back of the hand, we'll work on that here in a little bit. So for the joint, we've got this piece. This is going to slide in just like that. This piece is going to slide in just like that. The plate is going to snap on just like this. So there is that section. On this piece, slide it over. You want to kind of push that up a little bit and then snap that in like that. Straighten it up. So on this piece, you want to slide it into this track right here. Straighten up and then pop that in. So there you go for that. So you want to make sure and put this piece on correctly. So just like this, there is a little track that it's going to slide onto. just like that. And then if you want, you can just go ahead at this point and pop this on just to kind of hold it in place. And like I said, you can see the lines and everything are very nice and clean. All right, so I don't know who thought up of this idea, but I don't like it at all. So you've got this part, but you can't figure out like, how is this supposed to stay? Well, you have this little poly cap piece that is going to go onto here. Easy enough, but what you have to do is you actually have to trim this down. And I'm just using a sharp X-Acto knife. And where there's the little downward prongs, I'm just trimming those sections off without cutting myself, popping it on, and I'm going to try and line those up with that canal. And this was a pain in the butt to do on the other one. And then you just want to shove it in. You want to make sure that you shove it in right. So just hold your finger on there, and you can push it in from the other way, which I may end up having to do now. There. So that should give you clearance right there. Now, it does show you the so it does show to trim this piece off, but I'm not going to, and I'm going to show you why here in a little bit, because there's actually a piece that gets glued in there. So I keep that. So I just slide it down just a little bit. You can see the ball socket that's on there, and that's actually what's going to hold this to the arm itself. Now you can barely see it, but this little piece is going to go right here. So what I have actually converted to is using this Gorilla Glue, the gel. It works really well. And you can use aluminum foil, something like that. I'm just using the back of this paint tin to put a little bit on. Once it dries, I can just use a razor blade and scrape it off. And I'm just using a toothpick here just to get a little bit. It's only going to take a little bit. And just a little on there. Make sure, it's probably going to be hard for you guys to see. I don't think it's going to focus on there, but the little tab goes toward the wrist. Just drop it on there, press it down, and within a few seconds that's actually going to set. So just make sure and do it right the first time, but that's what it's going to look like. Now next up we are going to, and yes, I've already cleaned all the pieces and everything, so I've cleaned the tabs off and sanded them down. So on this, what I want to end up doing is I want to put a little bit of glue right here, just a little dab, and a little in this well right here, a little in that one, a little in that one, and a little right there. And what we're going to do is just place this over, press it, and hold it for about 10 seconds. And next up, I found building this in sections is going to make this a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just put a drop of glue on this post right here. What's going to happen is as we press down this piece, it's just going to press it out and spread it out. You want to make sure and line it up, and it should line up pretty good as it is. With this piece, you want to make sure and line up the squares where these ridges right here on the top and the bottom are on the top and the bottom. There's a little cradle for it to sit into, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a dab of glue in this cradle, just the tiniest dab, and then just a dab on the end of this piece right here. Work that in, press that down. There we go with the main piece of that. With the Gatling gun, you can see the piece has a triangle. You can only put this on really one way, so you don't really have to worry about it. We're just going to put a little dab on the end of here. And slide that in and just press it up against there. So there's that section. Now for these next pieces, I actually suggest that you apply a little bit of glue back to your glue palette. And one of the reasons that I really like this glue over the others is because it doesn't get all runny. It'll actually stay where you put it. So I'm actually just going to put a little bit in that hole. And then with these, I just suggest using some tweezers to put it on and place it. You want to line up the peg. Sometimes the tweezers don't always end up doing what you want, but it should slide in. And then you got that bracket. And you do want to pay attention because you'll notice the end of this is at an angle. You can see there on the camera. So you actually want the angle side to go against this little round section right here. Any excess, I just wipe away with my finger. Place that over and just kind of rotate it and it'll pop into that slot just like that. And then I'm kind of pushing that in a little bit because I want it to be on that inside track. So there is that. And then for these, just a little dab on here and a little dab on this side. It's going to be a lot easier to do this if that top piece is not on there yet. And I'm just going to use tweezers to drop that on. Now once this is all built and everything, if I decide to paint it, which this is actually for somebody else, if I decide to paint this or if he decides to paint it, all you have to do is just soak it in some purple powder for like an hour or two and it'll actually break down that super glue and you'll be good to go on that. So don't worry about that. Now for this piece, this one's going to be a little bit tricky. So what I do is I just do a dab of glue on this side and then just a dab of glue on this side. And then I'm just going to lay that in there and just kind of press it down. There's a very little track for it to sit on, but it is there, so it'll end up working. And then lastly, we're just going to put a dab of glue on top of this piece. Just wipe away some excess, and that's why I like this gel, is it makes it a lot easier to work with and manipulate than the liquid or the quick set. Line that up on there and basically just let it sit. Now on the hands, I'm not cleaning up the hands at all. I will let you guys figure that out. It's pretty easy peasy. Just rotate the fingers in the right direction. The only thing I don't like about these hands though is these fingers will pop out of the socket super easy. Rotate that around. And at least on the other hand, let's hope this one ends up working. Yeah, it just snapped on, easy peasy. I don't even have to glue it on there. It just snaps on like a regular hand. And then just pop that in the socket. And there you go. All right, so we're just going to give you a quick overview on this. There's the hands with the new back of the hands, the arms. You got all the little piston details, all the nice crisp details, and yes, these marks will be cleaned out once I go through with a pen liner and just refine them and just basically just wash out the pieces. But I think it looks pretty sexy. But you guys can see exactly what I mean about some of the instructions are hyper difficult. Wait till you end up seeing for the shoulders. They are super confusing. I don't want to make these videos super long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post this one up and then I'm going to do the shoulders, make a video for the shoulders, and then we'll do the head. I'm going to do with the chest because I think those are just all new pieces that get glued together, and then go from there. And then once I'm all done, I'll just make a collage of putting everything together in one long film and post that up. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. There will be links down below if you want to support the channel and pick up supplies, anything like that, so check that out. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for supporting my channel, And as usual, YouTube, I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace out, YouTube.